So what did they call you?
What did they call me? I mean, a long time ago, they used to call me Cheeks, and then it changed to Bandit.
Bandit, what are you incarcerated for, sir, and how long is your sentence?
What I'm incarcerated for is for murder and robbery.
Where are you from when on the streets?
Salinas, California.
Do you or did you at any time in your life belong to any type of gangs, groups, organizations, or anything like that, sir?
So yes, I was. I was part of Salinas Marqueta Street. So I mean, my upbringing was okay. Obviously, growing up in an okay family. My dad wasn't great. My dad actually was. Yeah, actually, he was just somebody who just used me as a punching bag. I didn't feel really loved from the guy. I didn't feel respected. I didn't feel part of the family. So, I mean, I had two older brothers and one little sister. Things were rocky, obviously. My mom felt it as well, so she divorced him. We went to Salinas. I mean, it was okay in the beginning. I was with my grandma a lot. I didn't really trip on the gangs too much. That lifestyle, it was around constantly. There's sureños and there's norteños. And there's just a lot of drama around the streets, a lot of shooting, a lot of stabbings, a lot of stuff. But I didn't immerse myself in that lifestyle whatsoever. I met a few friends, and we were, pretty good. I mean, obviously, smoke cigarettes and every now and then smoke some weed. Wasn't too bad of a lifestyle up until I believe I was 13 years old, and things got a little bit worse once I went to junior high there.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, it was more a shelter, not a shelter shop, but a shell shock, basically. So it was like you kind of kick it with certain individuals, and you kind of get pushed certain ways. And my cousins were mostly all norteños, so it's like I kind of got pushed in that direction. Not just that, the area where I was in, I'd have to walk home from school, and there'd be a lot of sureños in that area, either picking on me or whatnot. And obviously I was always scared. Growing up, I mean, it's hard to explain that you're scared, but that's the feeling, that's the emotion that you have. So yeah, I was scared, and I got jumped a few times, and I just got tired of it. So I started kicking it more and more with my cousins, and they're older homeboys, and one thing led to another, and I started turning to there was no love at home. My mom, she was never at home, and I get it. She was working. She was working two jobs at times. She was just trying to put food on the table and give us shelter over our heads and clothes to wear, and so it was hard on her. And then she met somebody new, and we weren't for him. He used to beat her all the time. She'd hide that for a very long time. I wasn't cool with that. So that turned to basically, like, I started kind of hating her more and more because she kept choosing this individual over us, over me and my little sister. And it's like, okay, well, you're constantly getting dated and beaten, and we're constantly moving back and forth. We moved from Arizona because he was a Mayordomo, so we used to be in the fields a lot. So we'd go from Yuma, Arizona to Salinas, California. So I had to kind of. It's a little bit different. The lifestyle is a lot different. I didn't like it over there that much either. There's a lot of sureños over there, and a lot of their families that went with the fields, they knew who we were as well. So that was an issue as well. I never got no good grades. They always put me in school. I never had clothes. My mom would send me to my dad's here and there into Anaheim, and that was kind of a bad situation. My dad didn't like me. He'd always beat me. He'd always blame me for everything that my brothers were doing because they stayed down south with him for a while. And so, it's always back and forth. I go back and kick with the homies, and sometimes the homies weren't the homies no more because they're like, well, you keep moving around and you're not here. And some were cool. Some were like, it's good, this and that. Let's just get back to doing what we're doing. And, I never had like love at home that I felt, that I wanted, that I needed. So, it turned I chose their lifestyle. Like, look, I seen these guys who had guns, who had girls, who had cars, who had drugs, had everything. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to start hurting for these individuals. I'll start doing stuff for these individuals to show them that, if I hurt these individuals or do things on their behalf, they'll look up to me, or not look up to me, but, respect me and give me that love that I was seeking. So, I immersed myself into that lifestyle more and more and more, and I started hurting more people, and, I didn't view it as me, closing my life off. I viewed it as, somebody giving me a pat on the back, somebody telling me, look, you did good, you did good. Somebody that was there that I was inspired to be like. And, I had my up days,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
A lot of days are down. It was a struggle to be out there. Sometimes I was living on the streets. My mom would throw me out. Homeboys would take me in here and there. But all in all, it's like, I felt wanted. I felt safe, even though I wasn't safe. The streets are not safe whatsoever. There's nothing but crime out there, nothing but drugs out there. So, I started doing more and more drugs to numb myself from reality. And, sometimes some of the homeboys would be like, hey, you got to go handle this or go handle that, or, go make some money for the hood, or, go over here with the homeboys right here and back them up over here. So, it was, the lifestyle to me, I was okay with it because that's all I knew. That's all I just wanted to be seen, that's all I really wanted, since I wasn't seen nowhere else. It was for the bad, however, and yeah, so, from getting beaten from my dad, not being loved from my dad, sometimes, like, my dad had sayings, right, and I still live with them daily, like how ugly of a child I was, that I never amount to anything. I never amount to the breadcrumbs on the bottom of his feet. So, I lived with that for a very long time, like, wow, and did I believe it? Yeah, I believed it. He was supposed to be my father figure, right? That no woman would ever love me or respect me, this and that. So, how stupid I was. And I get it. I made bad choices in life. I understand that. It took me years to process that and understand exactly what he meant. Even though he didn't have to be so cruel about it, I get where he was coming from. Plus, I understand because, and he grew up in Mexico where his family, they treated him like crap. So sometimes I'm like, man, maybe he was just living the life that he was taught from his family. So things are tough. So I just, I just continued down the path that I just didn't care anymore. And that path led me to, prison at a young age. I believe I was 20 years old when I picked up this life crime. I ended up, really hurting people on behalf of something very stupid that I didn't really see. I thought it was a struggle. I thought it was a cause. I thought it was, we were brothers. I thought, things would be a lot different, but they weren't. They're pretty much the same. So yeah, I ended up murdering and robbing Luis Rodriguez, and I shot at Fortunato Noyola and Richard Perez. And since then, like, obviously I was in here for 17 years of my life. The first 17 years that I was here, I was still on the active side. I was still doing the same. So I woke up one morning, right, and obviously, I was on the streets, so I was pretty much staying at people's places. So there's a party earlier that, so we're at the party mainly around the corner from 7-Eleven, and, so we're just, all of us are, there's a lot of us there. We're drinking, a lot of us, partying, just having a good time. And so 7-Eleven, the workers came around the corner and told us, like, hey, we can't be there right now. They're renovating, and we just wanted beer. So we had some money, right? We had money for more beer, but they're like, hey, they're renovating right now. They're waxing the floor. So it's bad right now. So we're like, okay, cool. Yeah, so they had told us, I'm not trying to get nobody in trouble with this, but they had told us basically, when's a good time to get beer and this and that, right? So that's what we went there for. There's a few of us that went. There's somebody that went with us that he had a gun and it didn't have a firing pin. I didn't really like this guy, this individual, right? But he came along, and yeah, so we're just there waiting. We're pretty much waiting for the renovators to leave. They're packing their stuff up and everything, and some car just drove up and started banging on us. He's telling us Sureño, Trece, this and that, right? So we banged back, and that kind of riled up see, I was with my boy, and then it was kind of his boy that was there, and yeah, it kind of riled him up more than us, so, right? And then I guess, he kind of got crazy with the renovators. The renovators were like, we don't bang, that's not our lifestyle, this and that. So they're still packing up, and that's when this car pulled up. And when this car pulled up, like I said, this guy kept talking the whole time about how he was going to rob people, this and that. We weren't even there for that. We're there for beer. So it was kind of a fucked up situation. So, like I say, so he ended up, when this car pulled up, he ended up going over there and confronting three individuals, right? And we knew what he was doing, but my homeboy was like, hey, go back him up because, the gun that he has doesn't have a firing pin. And I was just like, I'm not doing all that. That's your boy. Like, you go. It was one of those stupid things, right? And I was drunk and I was high. And, I mean, we all were drunk and high. Pretty much, I went over there to back him up. He was over there robbing the individuals, right, at the time. I didn't really know what was going on. I mean, obviously I knew what was going on. I'm not stupid. But I kind of went over there just to back him up. And one thing led to another. He was yelling. Somebody was yelling. And, one of them tried to pull a knife. And that's when I just, and he's like, shoot them. And that's when they knew that his gun wasn't real. So, I shot, and then I seen someone trying to either run away or run towards me, and I turned and I shot at them too. And then, I was pretty mad at the whole situation. I was pretty mad. So when I was running away, I was trying to shoot everybody. There's no more bullets. I was just pretty upset. There was the renovators outside. There's the two workers at 7-Eleven, and my homeboy already had ran off. And then that other homeboy that was there, I don't know where he went. I think he was still taking stuff out of the car. I don't know. Like I say, so all that situation went down, and I was just upset. The whole situation, I was mad. But I put myself there. I'm the one, who did everything. I'm the one. It was just a fucked up situation.
Where did you go? Where did you go immediately after? And at that point in time, did you know that someone's life had been lost?
So I ran around the corner, obviously, to the party, and then I went to my homeboys where I stayed the night right there in that same area. I fell asleep. Honestly, I didn't know that the lights were lost. I didn't know anything like that. I didn't know if I hit anybody. I didn't know, right? Because the guy kind of stumbled, so I was like, maybe I hit one of them. The other one I thought, actually, I didn't even get hit because he kind of fell. He tripped over himself and fell. So I was like, I thought he's the one who got hit, but it wasn't. The third one. But like I said, I just took off running, and I was more mad than anything. So the next morning when the detectives pulled us over, me and one of my homeboys were walking down the street. They pulled us over because my homeboy met the description of one of the individuals. That's when, I gave my brother's name at that time because I was like, when he was telling us like somebody had died, did we know what was going on? Did we hear about the shooting, this and that? And we're like, nah, we heard something about it, but we're down the street over here at a party, so we didn't know nothing about nothing. So that's when I heard about it, and at that time, like, I'm a kid, and well, I don't think it was done for the gang. I did it more for my homeboy's homeboy, but he was there telling me that he was robbing for the gang, right? Like, we're going to collect money. This is what we do. We collect right here. So, we got to send it to who we got to send it to, and that's what it is. So I was kind of with it, but I just wasn't with that, the way the situation went down.
In that moment when the cop told you that somebody had passed away, how did you feel? Did your heart drop, or truly, in fact, did you not even give a dang?
honestly, so it was like a double-edged sword, right? My heart dropped because I was like, damn, that's messed up, right? Like, I took a life. But then it kind of, the empathetic side of me or whatever it was, it tugged at me quickly. It dissipated it. And I was like, you know what? I made a name for myself. Especially because they said, that's what, my homeboy was saying basically was on behalf of the game. Honestly, how did I feel, right? I, I didn't care about life. Life was, to me, just, like a tumbleweed going by. Like, it doesn't even matter anymore. Did it hurt? I won't lie, yeah, it hurt. I was going through court. My family wasn't there. They were there for the very ending when they found me guilty, so they didn't really hear all the specifics, this and that. There was a lot to it. So yeah, did it? I was 20 years old at the time. I'm going to court, so I believe I was found guilty. I was 21. Well, about to be 21. So I was 20 years old. Yeah, it sucked. I knew I did something very wrong, and I'm paying the consequences for it. But all in all, we used to always talk about prison like it was the place to be. Like, hey, you know what? That's where you make your bones at. That's, the homies go to prison. The homies put in work in prison. The homies, you make a name for yourself in prison. Girls love it. But for me, obviously they gave me life without. So it was like hard to explain. They pulled me to the side. The psych pulled me to the side and was like, "Oh, you're kind of like in a tunnel, and you can see the other side, so just walk through." Something said it was stupid, and I was just like, "Well, I'm inside the tunnel. Like that tunnel's closed off to me. Like there's no hope. There's no nothing. So leave me alone. Like I don't need to talk to nobody. I'm good. My life is pretty much over."
And what happened to the two individuals that were riding along with you?
So they questioned one of the individuals, right? But he didn't have no part in it, right? My homeboy, he had no part in it. So they questioned him. They let him go. Obviously, they had him on camera on one side, but he was on the phone area, so he had no part of it because he didn't know. So, but the other one, he pretty much got away, right? I heard years later on. He used to send me money here and there, but I heard years later, like he went to another state and got arrested, and he's doing life somewhere. However, with that individual, once they had me and they started questioning me about, we know there's two of you. Obviously, we got you on tape, and I was playing the role that I wasn't there at all. That wasn't me. I was around the corner at a party. You got me fucked up. They pretty much stopped, stopped looking for him, and it was just all pointed to me.
So you went through the court system, you got sentenced, and now you're a young norteño, 20 years old, with a life sentence without the possibility of parole, and you got nothing to lose now. Where was the first prison that you landed at, and what was your experience like?
Oh man, the first prison I landed in, right? Well, besides reception center, they sent me to Calipatria State Prison on B Yard, where it was bad. Norteños had it bad there. We had cells I believe 242 to 250. It was pretty bad. Like, it was nothing but wartime, nothing but So at that time, they barely started making this thing. It's called the NHITSU program, the Northern Hispanic Inmate Transitional Housing Unit, where we don't come out with the general population anymore because they already had sent busloads out of norteños out of here because it was like war after war after war. But they're popping doors on us from time to time. We're on the yard and they're letting other people walk through the yard, and stuff happens. And we got tired of being here. Like we were treated like crap here. We were treated like filth. We come out for an hour and a half, and got to worry about damn near everybody, right? But it is what it is. Like you handle what you got to handle. We have visits behind glass. and we couldn't even get fed. What was messed up was, I mean, they said they're keeping us separate, but when the Sureños go on lockdown, we'd go on this lockdown as well. We're like, so we couldn't go to canteen, we couldn't get we couldn't get packages, we couldn't get nothing basically, and we're just like, well, you guys keeping us separate, but yet when something happens with them, you're not keeping us separate. So we started flooding for a minute, and sooner, they got us out of here. I was here for about a year and a half, something like that, and then from there I went to a high desert state prison on Sea Yard. So this was like in 2001, at the end of 2002, something like that. I was in high desert. So that was a rude awakening for me. I'm obviously I see some riots right here in Calipatria, through the windows and stuff like that, and people running on the tier getting stabbed. But high desert kind of woke me up to the reality of, damn, this is what prison is like now. So it was ugly, right? Obviously, you get there and you do your little NA time, and it's different. It's a small yard. I mean, the yard's okay size. However, what you're kind of used to, you're just like, okay, well, it's a smaller yard. Or with everybody. There's Sureños out there. At that time, when I first got...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I believe there was, I want to say about 90 Sureños on the yard. Maybe a little bit less. And there's like 28, 29 Norteños, maybe 30, something. It was real small. And then the white boys, there was about 40. And the blacks were a lot. So, yeah, I mean, first thing I seen was a white boy getting killed. And that was a rude awakening. But listen, it's going to hang up, and they're about to call day room recall, so